Hello, I'm Barry, the volunteer rifleman.
And I'm Ethan. I love muzzleloading.
All right, well, Ethan, glad to have a chat with you tonight. Um,
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
yeah, one of the if we go on the internet and we find out what is the number one most asked question and the most stressful topic about muzzleloading on the internet today, what are we going to say?
For me, it's percussion caps.
It's percussion caps.
It's percussion caps. I mean, everything else kind of falls by the wayside right now. And percussion caps, everybody has an opinion, and there's a lot happening with it. It's a very stressful time.
Really, it is. It is. And right now, if I'm a new shooter, I don't know what I would do. And also telling new shooters what to do. I mean, the old
Yeah.
simple thing. Everyone used to say you start with a good old Hawken with a percussion cap Hawken, right? Or you
Yep.
start with a percussion cap revolver. I know. Actually, that was actually my first black powder firearms or percussion cap revolver.
Yeah, a ton of people get started with the cap and ball revolvers because you have some kind of multi-shot capability. You're used to it. Revolvers are cool, and
Yeah.
that's really the gateway.
It was for me, I tell you. But what consumes percussion caps faster than anything else? It's a revolver, right?
Cap and ball
Super
revolver. Yep.
quick. So, um, you just recently had a video out about availability. So, give me some thoughts.
Yeah. So
What's the market
over it's it's a little funky right now. So back in April of 2023, I talked to some representatives from CCI about percussion caps because I was actually at the NRA show and able to speak with a human being, which is something that's very hard to do with any of these companies, any of these manufacturing facilities. They informed me they do one run of percussion caps a year under the CCI brand. They convert a line over from modern center fire stuff, whatever that line is. They change out tooling to make percussion caps. They do that once a year, and that run is dedicated to the hunting market. It's not really for muzzleloading enthusiasts, people that shoot all year round. They're mainly supplying those hunting seasons that come here in the United States in the late fall and into winter. Since then, and we did see that last year. We saw caps come into the market. We saw some regions had plentiful caps, other regions didn't have any.
right?
We're still trying to pin down what that is, but we saw a release of caps through the year. Depending on where you're at, though, in the world, you're still without caps. And part of my really the instigation of that video, kind of catching everybody up to speed for percussion caps, was this is what we're looking at. This is what we had last year. This is what we're looking at going into this next year. It doesn't answer all of the questions, but I tried to give some context as to what we're seeing and how to prepare for this year. I think that going into this year, we're going to have a very similar year to last year, where we have a single run of CCI percussion caps. There are a lot of variables out there, though, between it's not just CCI. I focus on CCI because
Right,
they're the only company I've been able to actually talk to that I
right,
don't have any speculation about. Late last year, we did see Remington caps under the Remington name. They are manufactured, or that brand is owned by the same brand that owns CCI. So there could be some coordination there as far as manufacturing and distribution goes, but again, nothing is confirmed. And then the other big variable is the imported caps coming from RWS out of
right,
Germany, which are seen as the best caps produced today. But because they're imported, we only saw one major
yep,
import of those last year. So it's still kind of up in the air on, we don't, and that was kind of an irregular import based on what
right.
I've seen and people I've talked to. We don't know, we don't have a regular schedule for those coming in, I should say. So it's not great right now if you don't have caps and you have a bunch of revolvers, or you want to get your Hawken out and enjoy it. It
Right.
can be a little tricky right now.
And circling back around to the RWS caps, and I think that's kind of the big variable right now because they just appeared about, like I said, about 6 months ago, but how they were distributed was really odd. So I talked to one of our local major vendors, right, and he had RWS percussion caps in stock, right?
Yep.
And I talked to him and I asked him, because I was actually kind of more interested in musket caps, because a lot of the shooting I do is with rifles and need musket caps. And he told me that they weren't available at all. And then I just did a quick search, and lo and behold, another fairly major online vendor had them in stock and would only sell them to you in boxes of 1,000. So
Right. You're not buying small amounts.
not buying small, but that's also good. I'm not going to get
Yeah.
crucified on the internet for not leaving some behind for the next guy, because this is all they would allow me to buy. All right.
Right.
So, but that was all this exact same period. So suddenly
Yeah.
there were RWS caps. Now prices,
Prices were volatile, and I mean, we
yeah,
have to thank Shoots and Energetics out of Texas. I believe they are the primary importer of those caps, so they were responsible for contacting RWS and saying, hey, United States needs some caps. RWS came through with a pallet full of caps, but that was kind of it. And as much as Shoots and Energetics, to my understanding, tried to get some more, they weren't able to secure any more through that year. It was a large quantity that we saw come in, but like you said, distribution was really varied depending on the
yeah,
retailer that you were at and what kind of caps you would get, which is weird because it's the same thing that we see in the domestically produced caps, where you get some kind of Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, Pennsylvania gets a few. The southern states like Georgia, Mississippi might get some, and then you'll get a couple states out west, but it's not like every
right,
state is going to get blank number of caps. It's
right,
just the method hasn't revealed itself
right,
yet.
exactly. But I think maybe the takeaway on this is be prepared. All right.
Yes.
It's probably good to routinely check some of those sites. Um, what I have found is you're probably not going to get too much of people saying, hey, so and so has musket caps or percussion caps in stock until after they've purchased them, right? While we
Yes.
like to help each other, I think a lot of people want to make sure they get their supply first before announcing it to the public. But still,
Yep.
I would probably announce it after I got my fill. I would
Yeah,
probably,
I've seen that from all over the country. Folks say, I picked up 510s. There were several more on the hook. This is the
yeah,
store. And they're people are trying to help other people out.
right,
Whether or not somebody else goes in and swoops all of those up. I mean, I've heard a ton of stories about people reselling them and then showing up at a gun show that weekend and charging $20 a 10. That always stinks.
it
But I think that based on what I've seen in my personal experience, the easiest way to know when these caps are coming in or when they're available is to sign up for like the in stock alerts
right,
on your online retailer. You're going to pay the hazmat fee. I know the hazmat fee stinks, but the best way to secure caps when they come in is to get that in stock notification. And when you get that, order some caps because it's going to be a lot easier than driving to Walmart or driving to Cabela's or Bass Pro, hoping they have some and they don't. The
right.
hazmat fee it's
It
the
is what it
same as
is.
gas.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's to me it's the same cost as gas driving 30, 40 miles to town.
yeah. And the other thing I think we all just probably for the foreseeable future need to get our head around in that these are more expensive than they used to be.
Yeah.
Right. I would actually like to, I've been in this hobby, both muzzle loading and reloading, as you can see here, reload hobby for many, many years. And I have gone through numerous down cycles, right?
Yeah.
Where, primers weren't available, powder was available, a specific kind of powder wasn't available. All right. The cycles come around and they did come back. And so the advice I would give is when it does come back, buy, right?
Yep.
Instead of buying another muzzle loader, buy supplies
Buy supplies.
so you can keep shooting the muzzle loaders you have for a longer period of time. And
Yep.
I've ended up with a good healthy stash, right? Some people would think, hey, Barry's hoarding again, but if anybody knows me, also knows I shoot. Right?
Shoot a ton.
So I go through them, pretty quick.
Right.
I do have some deep stashes, some older stuff too, but we'll talk about older stuff later. All right.
Yeah.
So
It's
let's, yeah,
it's oh, sorry. I was going to say this. It's difficult and it can be discouraging trying to start right now in this kind of tight market for this stuff. But I hope that people don't get too discouraged
right,
because there is still opportunity. You can still find this stuff. It's not like it's been totally removed from production. It's not like it's been totally removed from the market. And you never know when you're going to come across this stuff.
right,
I see tons of stuff, even just driving around. If I go into an antique shop or stop by a string of town garage sales, you can find caps, you can find muzzle loaders. You just never know when you're going to come upon
yeah,
that stuff, and don't get discouraged about it. If you
right.
really have your heart set on a percussion muzzle loader, and you have it, and you really wish you could go out and shoot it, just be patient and stick with it, and you're going to find something at some point. I
Yeah,
think.
absolutely. And the other thing there is a lot of, again, from watching in general, people asking questions on where to buy, how to buy. Um, there's a predominance of people who are used to going into their local sporting goods store, their local Walmart, the local Bella's. You may actually need to buckle down and
Yeah,
look on the wider internet, and like you said, get ready to pay those hazmat fees. But I
yeah.
love your
It,
analogy. Gas is as expensive as hazmat fees these days.
if I want to go into town to buy a brick of ammo,
Yeah,
the shipping cost is the same as my trip to town to be able to buy anything. And I live out in a pretty rural area, and it's been like that for quite a long time. So for me, the adjustment is, been 15, 20 years, since
yeah,
I had any money to buy anything. And I think if you want to keep it going, if you really care about the sport and you're really passionate about it, to me, it's an easy conversion. I know it's not for everybody, but there are plenty of trusted retailers out there that, do right by you online. I love going into a shop and, talking to somebody in person. I love stopping by locally owned muzzleloading shops. When I'm traveling, it's very limited where I'm at.
right, right. Okay. Next topic of discussion.
Yeah.
What are percussion caps? All right. So, and the reason this comes up is one of the more entertaining things on the internet is the comment sections.
Yeah.
Right. And it wasn't too long ago, just a few weeks ago, where of all places, Amazon had CCI reenactor musket caps. All right. Now these
Still
aren't
blows my mind.
yeah, right. And they were real. They were real. People actually got them, bought them. Right. Now, reenactor caps aren't my favorite, but they do, for the most part, work for real shooting, right? For the most part. There's some odd things, like some people have had trouble with them working in some of the breech loaders. All right. So
Yeah.
actually setting off. But for what we do, they work. All right. But one of the comments that got me was a person gave them a 1-star review. And the reason for the review wasn't the quality. It was that they weren't number 10 or number 11s when they got them. All right. They weren't percussion
Interesting.
caps.
Okay.
All right. So to me, that's like saying, and that the ad didn't say they weren't number 10 or number 11 percussion caps, that they
Right.
were musket caps. Well, if we step back, that's like saying, I ordered 9mm ammunition off the internet, but they should have told me it wasn't 223.
Right. There's a
Because they are different things. And who is it? And so
yes.
what we need to do is educate people.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
There's an education gap there because I imagine that person sees musket and thinks it's
Right.
a one-to-one for muzzleloader,
Yeah.
and they're familiar with the percussion cap number 10, cap and ball size things, and not necessarily they're thinking the caps are speaking to a generalized
Right.
term, not a specific. That's very interesting.
Right.
That's a gap I never would have expected.
Right. And that's why I said we need to educate. So
Yes,
it was actually
exactly.
right after that I contacted you and said, "Hey, let's do a chat and talk about
Okay.
caps." Right.
I love that.
Because yeah,
Oh, that's so
because
cool.
it is, and again, us, us old timers, all right, we would maybe take that stuff for granted. We know all this, but even I tell you that
Yes.
after all of these years, All right. I couldn't really tell you what is the difference between a number 10 and a number 11. What's the actual difference?
Right.
And what is there between a CCI 10 and 11 versus a Remington 10 and 11 versus a RWS 1075?
1075.
All right.
Right.
Um, and oh my gosh, I don't even want to know. We'll talk about these in a moment. But so my answer to that is don't care. All right. Right now, if what's available,
Mm,
if number 11s are available, you buy number 11s. And you mentioned this too earlier, but why? Because the cheaper thing now by far is the nipple they go on.
yep.
Right. So if you just simply replace your nipple to match the cap, right, you're good to go. Now, some people with older guns, the nipple may be very hard to take off, things like that. I get it, right? But for the most part, I'll bet you most of us can change the nipple on our Thompson Center, all right, easier than we can try to find the number 10 cap that belonged on it in the first place.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely. The, I mean, you could do it with, if you were really cagey, you could do it with just a drill and a file and your taps,
Yeah.
to cut the threads on it.
Yeah.
But the nipples, they're plentiful. Steel and
Wonderful.
manufacturing
Right.
capability in the United States is plentiful. So
Right.
if you have something like you were saying there, you could just about reverse engineer any nipple size to fit whatever cap you have, to fit whatever muzzleloading arm you have right
Right.
now, which is an abstract way for us to think about it right now. But I think it's kind of the
Yep.
necessity is the mother of invention kind of thing. We're not inventing anything, but
Right.
we're inventing new ways to think about it in a way.
Right. And when you could go to, I'm going to bring, let's see, it was Gander Mountain years ago, but
Yeah,
I used
yeah,
to go there because, and every time I went there, just for the heck of it, because they were like 295 a tin, I would pick them up. And they had the number 10s and the number 11s right next to each other. And how many times did I even look? So half the time I came
right.
10, half the time 11. So, um, but regardless, I think that, that there is that. And don't stress over whether I need 10 or 11, or even what number 10 or number 11, or a 1075 or a CCI number 10 is. And somewhere I'm going to show you here, and then I have some special things to show you, but there's all kinds of things like that. So yeah, match the nipple to the cap. All right. And let's see, Track of the Wolf. If you go on there, oh my God, you can be blown away by how many different nipples are on there. But ultimately you
Yeah,
learn, or you just call them and say, I need a I have a CVA, I need a nipple that'll take a CCI number 11. They have
yeah,
that, right? And there's number of others. Mike Eater from Flintlocks LLC, he'll walk you through the whole thing, all right,
yeah.
to get everything to match up. So
The most difficult part of that, if you don't have a standardized mass-produced muzzleloader like a CVA or a Thompson Center, is going to be determining your thread pitch.
right,
And that thread is how that nipple engages with the drum or whatever system that your muzzleloader has. But it's relatively simple to do that, and there's only so many thread pitches out there that have
right.
been used. So you can get around that.
Yeah. In the past, I have ordered, when you have a new one. So for instance, I had got a new old original, and I wasn't quite sure what it was. And so I bracketed it, right? Ordered a couple different ones and figured out which one is perfect. And at $5 a pop, that wasn't too bad. And then I, had the
Yeah.
right one. And then I have now, well, I have a stash of nipples anyhow that don't fit anything I have, but are there for the good.
Yeah, and you never know when a buddy is going to come across something that you have. They're small; they don't take up a whole lot of space. You've got a shop that you work in. I think we got to bring back the home shop and storing of extra parts and things. I think that's a big
Yep.
aspect of this, and it never hurts to have a few spare parts around. For something that you acquire in the future, or somebody that needs some help, that you can help them out.
Absolutely. Okay. Now I'm going to do a little show and tell here.
Please do.
All right. So I've already shown. Oh well, hey, what we didn't do. What is a musket cap? What is a percussion cap?
Yes.
All right. So let's see here. I'm going to first of all, this is a This is a RWS 1075 percussion cap. You know,
That's a pretty old tin, though. The red tin, isn't it?
yeah, these are the red tins, right? And they now come in the other one here. So, let's see here. Oh, probably can't see that, but it's tiny, right? It's really tiny. But this is a percussion cap, and this is the thing that people are really the most interested in right now. It's a percussion cap. You know, they come in tins. So I'm trying to spill them. This is like gold, right?
Right.
So, but yeah, they come in tins like that.
Come in tins of about 100 or
Yeah,
so, and the
right.
RWS come
Yeah.
in 250
Yeah,
quantities
so
now.
this is the current RWS, same 1075, different label now, and they come in 250. All right. Then a musket cap. So this is an RWS 1081 four-wing musket cap. All right. And musket caps, you'll see these are they're much larger.
Huge in comparison.
Yeah, and most of them have wings.
Yep.
All right. So the classic, 1081, all right, they have wings, the four wings. All right. And those wings help you to flick the cap off after you fired. All right.
Yeah.
Um,
Remove those spent cap
right.
fragments and particles.
Now, in RWS's past catalog, they had two other types of musket caps. One with no
Really?
wings. Yeah, one with no wings, which really was just a big percussion cap. And then the six wing. All right. So yeah, I haven't seen six wings in the States in a long time. All right.
Yeah, I
These are
can't
the
say I
common.
ever have.
Yeah, these are the four wing, and this is what most of us will use. Right. So
And
when
CCI makes a four-winged musket cap, and then
right.
Schutzen has their own house brand, I believe, of them too.
And,
And
and,
all of those are four-winged.
yeah. Okay. So that's the difference between the two. So I hope we got that covered. And again, you
Do you
show up.
think Barry, do you think the the musket caps burn hotter than a smaller percussion cap, or do you think it's just the size difference that
Well, yeah, there's more propellant. There's
there's
more,
more propellant?
not power. There's more of the priming compound.
Yeah.
And before we go too much further, there's something else not to be confused with, and that's two others.
Mm.
Go over here and grab into my stash of these. These are, oh no, sorry, those are musket caps. These are the who are these? These are the Schutzen musket
Yeah,
caps.
those are the yep.
Right. I don't think I have any of the CCI reenactor caps around here, but what I do have.
That's another box of Schutzen.
Yeah, I did. Okay. Yep. All right. So we have primers. All right. These are not percussion caps and they're not musket caps. Yeah, a lot of inlines use 209 primers.
Use
Yeah.
the 209, yeah.
But the main difference is that a primer, as we know it, all right, any modern primer, like a boxer primer, which is all right, one thing they contain inside of it, right? Of course, you can't see on these. This is a 209. Inside of the primer is an anvil. All right. So when when your striker hits the primer, what is backing it is actually a self-contained anvil inside of the primer. All right. A percussion cap has no such thing. So here, let's see if we can get this in focus. All right. If you can see inside there, you can actually see the anvil.
Okay.
All right. So that is equivalent to the end of the nipple, right? The thing that's providing the contact between what's hitting you. So these you cannot put on, even though they may look like they're like a percussion cap.
Right.
They're not going to fit on.
They're mechanically different.
Right? They are mechanically different. Exactly. So don't try it. Don't try to force a large pistol primer onto a nipple.
Right, or a 209 primer. There is out there the Mag Spark adapter as well for percussion, mainly rifle-sized muzzleloaders. So your Hawken
Yeah.
style muzzleloaders. It's a an adapter so that you can use a 209 primer
Right.
on your percussion muzzleloading rifle. So that's another alternative to find the nipple to the cap that you have available.
Right.
I've not personally tested that, but
Yeah.
I hear a lot of good things about the
And,
MagSpark.
and 209 primers are probably the most readily available of all of the primers.
They're all
Yeah.
over the place. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So here we go. We're going to start opening some of my boxes.
I can't wait.
Okay. So let's see here what we have here. We have, I don't even know how old these are.
Yeah.
And these don't even
I've seen
say,
those.
yeah, 100 foil line. We have an actual Remington arms.
Oh, yep.
Right. Remington Union Metal Cartridge, UMC.
Classic.
All right. Yeah, so good old stuff.
Are those all 11s or what sizes are these?
I couldn't tell you what size they are. They didn't even mark them. They're percussion caps. Right. I don't think there was that thing back then. There were just percussion caps.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
All right. So then we got some stuff here. These are okay. These are marked. These are the old L cans. All right. They're Italian. This is a number 12.
Yep.
Okay. I ran into, again, it was an estate sale. All right. And they literally just handed me a box full of those.
And for everybody out there wondering about the numbers, those dictate the size or the internal diameter of the cap. So your number 10s are your smallest of the currently mass produced caps. And you have number 11s are a little bit larger, and your number 12s are a little bit larger, and your musket caps are the largest of the produced ones.
Right.
The number 12s are very interesting. I had a tin given to me by a friend, Russ, out in Pennsylvania when I was out in at the Gunmakers Fair at Kempton, and he'd come into a mess of these number 12 Remington percussion caps. And he said, I don't have a number 12 nipple, but he said, I just give them a little pinch and they fit
Right.
well enough on the number 11 nipple and I can still shoot.
So I have probably about 8,000 or 9,000 of these.
Oh my gosh.
Right. For number 12. Like, I don't know how much
For number 12.
but yeah.
Yeah, you don't, you can save your pinching muscles if you get the
Right.
larger nipple.
Yeah. So I don't know if they'll ever get used, but they're still well. Now, another thing that I did encounter, and I encountered this on some RWS caps that I bought probably back in 1980. Sorry, 2005, maybe. All right.
Okay.
And I recently found one. It was an RWS, and it was I had already opened it back, a decade ago or more. And unfortunately, a lot of the priming disc was popping out. So yep. I do think you do need to store your caps well, right? Because there is some deterioration that occurs. Why, I've never fought any with deterioration of powder, but I actually have fought with deterioration of caps. So
yeah, it's something that can happen, and that's something like right now is still an issue because when caps are sent out or caps are put on shelves, we honestly don't know when they were made. So we know that they get produced once a year, but sometimes, you say right now at the end of January, caps could show up at a store somewhere, and we don't know if they were produced last year or 5 years ago. There's no obvious date stamp on anything. Last year, there was some issues with CCI caps, some of them coming very corroded and not working.
Right.
So storage is crucial. You want to keep them in a dry place. You don't want them to keep them in a very warm place that can accumulate any moisture or anything. And two, I don't know if it matters what orientation you store them in because the caps are all jumbled up. But like you've said, those discs can fall out in time.
Yep. I was just looking, one of the things that I used to always use as an indicator of how old things are is, do they have a website address on it?
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Because that's an older CCI tin there.
Yeah. That's a really old CCI tin.
Yeah.
So I used to be a cowboy action shooter. All right.
Oh
And
man.
again, and I shot revolvers, captain ball revolvers for that. So you can guess how many I went through. But also that's when they were, $2.99.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish they had at Gander Mountain or Cabela's, and every time I went in to buy anything, I just bought a couple of caps, a couple of things. So
Yeah.
that helped.
Because when they cost the
So,
same as a pack of gum now,
that's
it's
right.
just a little. You just add it on. I'm here. I'm throwing it in the cart.
Yeah. Cool. Well, is there anything else we want to chat about with per caps?
I don't think so. Do you think we've covered it? I mean, we didn't get into the specifics of the sizes out there. I mean, it's like several thousandth difference between
Right.
the sizes, but you can the numbers really standardize it, so you can
Yeah.
find the nipple for the cap and go on about your
Yeah.
merry way.
Yeah. And I can't tell you how many times, anyhow, that whatever cap I put in my pouch, and then it's loose, and there came the little pinch, and
Yep.
uh, I've actually found it better to have bigger and pinch than the ones too small and press, because that's where
Yes.
you get the misfires. Because remember, since the percussion cap doesn't have the anvil in it,
It
it's
relies on that
applying
nipple.
it. So if so, you're taking the power of your hammer and losing some of that power, and then pushing the percussion cap down far enough to hit the nipple hard enough. So
Yeah.
bigger was better because you could pinch it and get it on and have stay on. And especially if we're on the I wouldn't recommend that for a hunter. All right.
Yeah.
But if we're on the firing line down at Friendship, even doing a woods walk where you're capping right when you're shooting, you can pinch. It's
It's
not
not a
gonna,
big deal.
yeah, it's not gonna,
Yeah.
but they're smaller. Yeah. All right. So for those out there, once again, where do we find you, Ethan? On
Oh,
the
you can find me at ilovemuzzleloading.com. We've got a YouTube channel where we talk about muzzleloading all the time, and got a podcast as well if you're interested in kind of a talk show kind of thing.
Yeah, the podcast is one of the things I actually save them up, Ethan.
I love to hear
Whenever I
that.
have a trip, I save
Yeah,
them, and of course we're at Monitor. I'm hoping, I hope there's a new I Love Muzzleloading podcast I can watch here. So
I should be finishing up the next episode tomorrow morning, which I'm really excited about. And then
awesome,
we've got a couple more coming out here in February, which I think will be good.
awesome, great. And I'm on my YouTube presence is the Volunteer Rifleman on YouTube. I do have Instagram, the same Volunteer Rifleman, but don't really
Oh,
use.
super.
I do, but don't use it much. So to contact me, probably the best thing to do is leave a comment on one of our videos. All right, and you can also find me. I help Ethan out moderating I Love Muzzleloading over on Facebook. So if you
Yep.
have any questions, be careful. Don't ask the whole how much do they cost? Where can I buy them? We can maybe handle that part of it in a DM or something. But let's
Right.
in terms of questions about them. I think Facebook I Love Muzzleloading is a great place to do it. Or the comment section or DM me. So
Yeah, I think no matter where you're at, the community is really excited to help answer as much as they can. So you can usually find. I always joke that you can ask 10 different muzzleloading enthusiasts a question, you're going to get 12 different answers, but there's always good information in those 12 answers.
that's right. Yeah. All right. Well, if you're watching this and you made it to the end, congratulations. Hopefully this subject interested everybody. I definitely know it's a hot topic right now. So good night,
Yeah.
everybody.
Thank you for having me on, Barry.
Okay.